现在114，速度减不下来，应该是刹车没用了。
大致在什么位置？一定要告诉我。
第2个隧道了，第3个隧道要进去了，第4个隧道了，第6个隧道。
一键启动的键，你一直按去，连续按。厂家是说应该会熄掉的，交警在后面了，你不要怕啊，你不要怕。
Hi, I'm Brian Morrison from Glasgow, and I'm here in my electric car, MG ZS EV.
According to the Daily Mail, report from the United Kingdom, Brian Morrison, a 53-year-old British man, was driving his newly purchased Chinese-made MG ZS EV electric car home at about 10 p.m. on October 2nd when it unexpectedly entered autopilot mode and became uncontrollable, moving at 48 kilometers per hour. In a state of panic, Morrison tried to apply the brakes, but they failed to function. After a terrifying experience and calling the police, Morrison was advised to stop the car by crashing it into a police vehicle.
I was coming up to a roundabout and I went to slow down and brake, and there was no brakes. I don't know what to do. I'm sitting here in the car and it's driving on its own, but it won't stop. An emergency stop by actually the police asking me to crash into the back of their van. So that's what we did. Eventually the car did come to a stop.
Fortunately, he was not injured in this ordeal with his recently purchased MG ZS EV, which cost him £30,000. However, following this harrowing event, Morrison expressed uncertainty about driving the electric car again. In a similar incident in September this year, an MG ZS EV, the same model as Morrison's, caught fire in Australia. A battery detached from the vehicle, and it's suspected that the lithium batteries in the car might have sparked the fire. These incidents represent typical problems often seen in Chinese-made electric vehicles. Chinese electric vehicles equipped with immature software systems like autopilot are prone to system failures. Fires especially are a common fatal issue in these vehicles. In 2021, the Chinese government reported at least 3,000 electric car fires, a risk significantly higher than that of traditional gasoline cars. Escape can be difficult for passengers in the event of such fires. For example, on June 5th, in Hangzhou, an electric car burst into flames just 3 seconds after crashing into a local toll booth for unknown reasons, resulting in the death of all 4 passengers. The MG ZS EV involved in this accident is the first all-electric model launched by SAIC Motors' MG brand. Since its introduction in 2019, it has aggressively entered overseas markets, with Europe being a key target. MG, originally a renowned British car brand, was acquired by Nanjing Automobile in 2005. Later in 2007, SAIC Motors fully acquired Nanjing Automobile, and thus MG became part of SAIC. Perhaps due to the recognition of the original brand, the MG ZS EV, priced affordably, quickly captured the European market and became a dark horse in Chinese electric vehicle exports. In recent years, Chinese new energy vehicle brands have been expanding almost aggressively, relying on government subsidies and trying to capture international markets with low prices. The Middle East, Europe, Southeast Asia, and South America are among their target markets. However, this competitive approach, akin to low-cost dumping, has raised concerns within the European Union, which sees the inundation of cheap Chinese electric cars in the European market as a threat to its electric vehicle industry. In an interview with Radio Free Asia, Wang Zhongqing, a deputy researcher at the Taiwan Institute of Economic Research, stated that the number of Chinese electric vehicles exported to Europe, in addition to their low prices, has created a sense of crisis among European countries. Currently, 1 out of every 10 electric vehicles in Europe is made in China, a situation that is worsening. Last year, China surpassed Germany as the world's second-largest car exporter, and in the first quarter of this year, it overtook Japan to become the top global car exporter. Wang Zhongqing remarked both Japan and European countries, especially Germany, are manufacturing powerhouses, and the automotive industry is even a lifeline for their economies. The significant threat posed by Chinese electric vehicles to Europe has a considerable economic impact. The electric car sector occupies a substantial portion of Europe's GDP. Therefore, on September 13th, the European Commission, in an effort to protect the EU's automotive industry, initiated an anti-subsidy investigation to determine whether to impose punitive tariffs on government-subsidized imported Chinese electric cars. This move is likely to be a major blow to China's new energy vehicles exports to the EU. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, in her annual report to the European Parliament said,
"But global markets are now flooded with cheaper Chinese electric cars. And their price is kept artificially low by huge state subsidies. This is distorting our market. And as we do not accept this distortion from the inside in our market, we do not accept this from the outside. So I can announce today that the Commission is launching an anti-subsidy investigation into electric vehicles coming from China."
On October 4th, the official journal of the European Union confirmed that the anti-subsidy investigation into electric cars manufactured in China had officially commenced. Set to last for 1 year, the investigation focuses on recent electric cars imported from China. The EU stated that it might be implemented temporarily measures such as anti-subsidy duties on Chinese electric cars within the next 9 months. According to statistical data from the China Passenger Car Association, CPCA, China's automobile exports in August witnessed a 31% growth, a figure that was dwarfed by the even more substantial increase of 63% in July. In the first half of this year, Chinese companies exported nearly 350,000 electric vehicles to 9 European countries, surpassing the total export volume of last year. The European Union explicitly stated in the journal that it has gathered sufficient evidence indicating that Chinese car manufacturers are benefiting from subsidies by the Chinese government. The journal stated those subsidies have allowed the subsidized imports to rapidly increase their market share in the EU to the detriment of the union industry. With China's overcapacity, the EU anticipates that the number of Chinese electric vehicles entering European market could significantly increase in the future. A recent estimate by UBS suggests that by 2030, Chinese car manufacturers' global market share will surge from 17% to 33%. With European manufacturers potentially losing most market share. David Wong, an American economist, believes that the EU's anti-subsidy investigation primarily stems from the substantial government subsidies received by Chinese electric vehicles, resulting in an uneven competitive landscape. The EU might ultimately impose tariffs to some extent to protect European manufacturers from competition. This will undoubtedly have a significant impact on the export of Chinese electric vehicles to Europe. In recent years, a Chinese government has poured national resources into granting substantial subsidies to electric vehicles manufacturing enterprises, vigorously developing new energy vehicles in an attempt to overtake in a bend and prove China's industrial strength in transforming from a manufacturing giant to a powerhouse. Some analysts even believe that the Chinese government is delusionally hoping to replace the rapidly declining real estate sector with electric vehicles as a pillar industry to drive GDP growth. Since 2009, the Chinese government has been providing hefty subsidies for new energy vehicles, in some cases exceeding the selling price of the vehicles themselves. Under the vigorous promotion by the Chinese government, an influx of new energy vehicle enterprises, including owners with no experience or background in car manufacturing, rushed into the industry, all aiming for a share of the pie. The result was a rapid emergence of enterprises whose primary goal was to defraud subsidies. They cloned open-source technologies from abroad and relied on OEM factories for assembly, thus declaring ownership of their brands. For them, as long as the cars were produced and government subsidies secured, the quality of the vehicles was irrelevant. This led to the new energy vehicle sector becoming another bubble in China, similar to real estate, but even more problematic. According to statistics from the Chinese National Supervisory Platform for New Energy Vehicles as of March 2019, by March 11, 2019, China had registered a total of 635 vehicle enterprises, with 486 successfully registered and 450 passing the platform conformance test. A total of 5,827 vehicle models passed the vehicle conformance test. However, with the gradual phasing out of subsidy policies by the Chinese government, the majority of new energy vehicle brands have become a thing of the past. According to the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers in January this year, out of the 2022 retail sales ranking, only 149 new energy vehicle brands had sales last year. Of these, 49 brands sold fewer than 500 vehicles annually, with some having ceased production or been on the brink of bankruptcy. The data shows that over the course of 2 years, more than 80% of Chinese new energy vehicle enterprises have either exited or are in the process of exiting the market. Of course, those new energy vehicles enterprises that have survived the fierce competition and have already used the government's substantial subsidies to capture international markets at low prices, apart from Europe, Israel is also one of the most important export markets for Chinese electric vehicles. Rough industry estimates suggest that nearly 20% of the exported vehicles from Chinese electric vehicle factories are sold to Israel. In the first 3 quarters of this year, the market share of Chinese new energy brands in the Israeli electric vehicle market rose from 50% last year to 62%. Owing to the profound scarcity of natural resources within its borders, Israel lacks domestic sources of oil and natural gas for extraction. Coupled with its long-standing adversarial relationships with Arab oil-producing nations rooted in historical conflicts, this situation has consistently led to elevated fuel prices in the country. On the other hand, Israel's small land area, high degree of urbanization, concentrated population with high residential density, and lack of extreme weather conditions make the driving experience of electric vehicles more stable and better suited to the lifestyle of its residents. In October 2018, the Israeli Ministry of Energy launched a plan to replace fuel vehicles, leveling only a 10% purchase tax on pure electric models and 40 to 60% on the hybrid models, while traditional fuel vehicles were subject to an 83% purchase tax. From 2030, the importation of fuel vehicles will be completely banned, and imported cars must be either electric or natural gas vehicles. According to statistics from the Israeli Ministry of Energy, by 2025, the ownership of new energy vehicles in Israel will reach 177,000, and by 2028, this number will grow to 656,000. For consumers, despite Israel's plan to incrementally raise the purchase tax on purely electric vehicles from 10% to 2022 to 35% by 2024, the substantial gap in comparison to the hefty 83% tax on gasoline vehicles continue to sway numerous buyers in favor of electric options. For Chinese new energy vehicle companies, they also see the support of Israel's government for the import of electric vehicles, and the local market characteristics in Israel are more favorable for the promotion of electric vehicles. Therefore, they have high expectations for the Israeli market. Since SAIC Motor introduced the MG ZS EV for the Israeli market at the end of 2019, Chinese new energy brands have gradually made their presence felt in Israel's electric vehicle market, like emerging Spring Bamboo, with their market share reaching an astonishing 62%. However, the importance of the Israeli market to the Chinese automotive industry is not in terms of sales volume. Objectively speaking, with a population of just over 9 million and an annual sale volume of 300,000, the Israeli automotive market is not large. However, since Israel's regulations align closely with those of the United States and the European Union, making it a mature and developed market, it represents a noteworthy symbolic milestone for Chinese manufacturers. Competing with globally recognized car brands in Israel serves as both a significant achievement and a preparatory trial for the Chinese firms aiming to penetrate the European market. Thus, it is this small Israeli market that has become the best testing ground for Chinese car companies going overseas. About 10 Chinese car brands, including BYD, Geely, and MG, have entered the Israeli market. However, just as Chinese new energy vehicle companies were eagerly competing in the Israeli market, an unexpected war shattered their aspirations. On October 7th, Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel, and the ensuing conflict severely impacted the Chinese electric vehicles. According to a Chinese exporter, China's automobile export to Israel had already been suspended at the beginning of October when the war started, and the future remains unclear. Furthermore, after the outbreak of the conflict, international technology giants and local Israeli semiconductor companies were affected to varying degrees. For example, Tower Semiconductor operates 2 factories in Israel, mainly serving the automotive industry, producing over 50,000 wafers per month. It has now partially shut down to avoid the conflict. Chinese car companies are also within the affected scope. Take Mobileye, an Israeli chip company, for example. Many well-known Chinese car companies such as Geely, Chery, SAIC Motors, GAC Group, NIO, and XPeng are equipped with Mobileye chips and technology. Financial reports show that 30% of Mobileye's revenue come from the Chinese market. Moreover, the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, refused to condemn Hamas' terrorist attack on Israel, instead portraying the plight of Gaza under Hamas in the Israeli counterattack and inciting anti-Israel sentiment among the public. Moreover, many believe that the war waged by Hamas had unusual aspects, including intelligence and weaponry, suggesting the support of a major power, with the CCP being one of the suspected backers. Analysts believe that given the CCP's attitude to this war, future Sino-Israeli relations may change. Israelis may develop an aversion to Chinese products, which will undoubtedly affect the sales of Chinese goods in Israel, including electric vehicles. Therefore, it is also expected that even if the conflict ends, the future of Chinese new energy vehicles will still be filled with uncertainty. Once Israelis become wary, it may spell disaster for the Chinese new energy vehicle industry expansion to Israel. At the same time, the international market continues to be challenging, and Chinese electric vehicle companies developed through substantial government subsidies and favorable policies naturally cannot compare in the profitability with other industries. This has resulted in the entire industry being generally unprofitable. For example, NIO, XPeng, and Leapmotor, known as the 3 strong of China's electric vehicles, are all in the state of substantial losses. NIO's losses reached 6 billion yuan in the second quarter, equivalent to a loss of 250,000 yuan per vehicle sold. XPeng's net loss in the second quarter was 2.8 billion yuan, averaging a loss of 16,000 yuan per vehicle sold. As of mid-year, Leapmotor has accumulated net losses of over 12 billion yuan, still in a state of losing 50,000 yuan per vehicle sold. BYD stands as the sole profitable enterprise in China's electric vehicle sector, albeit with meager profit margins. The highest profit per vehicle peaks at about 10,000 yuan, while at its lowest, it barely exceeds 2,000 yuan. In contrast, Tesla's profit per vehicle can reach as high as 74,000 yuan and never falls below 42,000 yuan, even at its lowest. Already grappling with substantial losses, the domestic electric vehicle market in China is mired in severe internal infighting, sparking a price-cutting war and vicious competition. On the evening of November 2nd, Leapmotor announced a price reduction across all its models, with the maximum discount reaching 10,000 yuan. BYD, which fired the first salvo in this price-cutting round, recently declared price reductions on several of its popular models, with the steepest cut reaching 18,000 yuan. Conversely, Tesla has recently increased the prices of its best-selling Model Y in China. Faced with competition from its Chinese counterparts, this electric vehicle giant maintains that its pricing system is always fair and transparent. Even after the price hike, Tesla insists that its Model Y remains the best product in its price range within the domestic market. With severe internal rivalry in the domestic market and repeated setbacks internationally, coupled with a lack of profitability within the enterprises themselves, the future of China's electric vehicle industry might not be as bright as anticipated. The sustainability and extent of China's new energy vehicles, which have so far advanced with the help of subsidies, remain uncertain.